Welcome to the Cove Podcast, your stop for PME on the go.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Cove Podcast. I'm Captain Todd Lumpy, your regular host, and on today's episode, we're going to talk about rotoring maintenance, helicopter maintenance more specifically, but we'll go through a number of different changes, see state of play with rotary wing. We had Mackenzie Purbrick on talking about 5-Avon and Chinook, sort of flying a Chinook, but we're going to talk a little bit more about the state of play in Army aviation, some changes, some rapid changes that have been happening in the current space, and then some geographical considerations behind that change. I've got two members from the 16th Aviation Support Battalion with me. Captain Shannon McGee, he's a Mechanical and Aerospace Engineer, a double major, as he rightfully corrected me before we come on episode. But welcome, Shannon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I've also got Flight Sergeant Jason Smart, or Smarty as I refer to him throughout the episodes. He's an aircraft technician and our third Air Force member as well. We're just about to have SEAC on in the coming weeks, but you're technically the third one I've recorded. So welcome to the podcast, Smarty.
Thank you. Fantastic to be here.
Absolutely awesome. So I think we need a ground and situation brief, for lack of a better term, on Army aviation, more specifically in the current state. Can we talk through, Shannon, what Army aviation looks like right now?
Yeah, for sure. I think everyone's aware of the, ever-evolving strategic environment and defence strategic review. And a few things that fell out of that were, obviously, we have to modernise our fleet in terms of platforms, the way we're structured, kind of how we do business. So some of the things that you can see out of that is the adjustment from, say, the MRH90 Taipan platform into the AH-64 Black Hawk, which is now in service, operating across both Sydney at Holsworthy and Oakey in southeast Queensland. And we're soon to expect the first AH-64 Apaches to arrive in Townsville in Q3 this year. Obviously part of 16 Aviation Support Battalion, which is a new unit with its inception date only the 20th of January this year. There's a few things there that we can go into later in terms of how, I guess, the value proposition of it and how that integrates with, I guess, how people would understand Army aviation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely touch on that. I think we go back and Smarty's got some awesome stuff about the history of rotoring platforms and maintenance. I think that's important. So MRH sort of changed to Black Hawk, and we have Chinook still a firm foot on the ground, and you're a Chinook engineer as well, Shannon, are you not? So you provide that firm foot, I suppose, for lift aircraft.
I won't take all the credit.
Yeah.
The majority of my experience has been with the CH47 platform as a responsible engineering delegate.
Yeah. And then basically we've got ARH, so Tiger aircraft changing to Apache, and Apache is coming to Townsville, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Q3 this year is the expected delivery date. We're flying before the end of the year. So if you can think of all the logistics, all the preparatory work, obviously all the pilot and operator training that goes into creating that first flight, significant effort in quite a condensed time frame to enable that to happen.
And from flash to bang, that is quick. Like to put a new aircraft, like flying a new aircraft in a different geographical location, this is quick.
Absolutely. To introduce a new platform in the time frames that we are doing is quite a significant undertaking. But not only one platform, but two platforms, as well as retiring a previous platform, the MRH90, whilst concurrently maintaining our operational requirements with the CH47 platform, introducing interim contracts such as the AW139 to provide, I guess, a capability gap. There is significant undertakings occurring in Army aviation right now.
Yeah, huge changes. I suppose we'll go back to those huge changes and also your value proposition that you talked about before. But before we do that, Smarty, I want to talk about sort of the history of, because you're a bit of a buff and you absolutely love it, but the history of rotoring maintenance, sort of from its inception, obviously with the Air Force, and then Mac talked about in his episode, the Chinook pilot, about taking over Chinook from the RAAF. Like, can we go back to the inception of, rotoring platforms or the Air Force, and then subsequently through to that handover period, I suppose, and now all working together again?
Yeah, for sure. And for my level of understanding of it, I can provide a bit of that information. So Air Force had Huey helicopters, like the UH-1H helicopters that operated in Vietnam and outside of that. And we also had the Chinooks as described before. So the helicopters were in 9 Squadron, and once the ADF decided to replace them with the S-70 A9 Black Hawk, they were initially going to be part of 9 Squadron. Those Huey helicopters were transferred to 35 Squadron, and that 35 Squadron became a fixed wing and rotary wing squadron, which would be quite complex, I suppose. And it was based in Townsville. 9 Squadron moved to Townsville as well in Hamel Lines, where we are right now, to receive those Black Hawk helicopters, which they did in the late 80s, around about 88, I believe. Decision was made to have rotary wing transferred to Army, and that occurred from the first few Black Hawk helicopters. The first few Black Hawks were 9 Squadron tails. We have one here that's actually one of the original 9 Squadron helicopters.
As a gate guard, you're not still flying it, I imagine.
Not still flying it. It flew up here.
Yeah.
It's currently not a gate guard.
Yep.
It's probably in too good a condition to be able to to be put out the front and fall under the weather. Basically. So that occurred in the late 80s, just after I joined actually, and for me personally, I was very interested in rotary wing maintenance. Eventually found my way into it, working for the Army, which I am again.
It's a funny story because you joined the RAAF to get into rotary wing maintenance, right? Yeah. And then the rotary wing starts to slip away from RAAF. Do you know what I mean?
And it did feel for me that I was slipping away. It's like, wow, I actually want to get amongst that. So the last CO of 9 Squadron, Angus Houston, became the first OC of A Squadron in 5 Aviation Regiment. And I think that's an important bit of history in rotary wing maintenance or rotary wing operations.
Yep. So in Air Force, CO, is that, or OC?
CO,
yeah.
Noting that flip between OC and CO between Army and Air Force.
Yeah, because you do it differently, don't you? You reverse them over. Yeah. So he was the CO of 9 Squadron, then became the OC of A Squadron, and that was not an emotion. It's just the way your terminology is different.
Yes. Yeah, correct.
Perfect, yeah. And then subsequently, so that's Black Hawk, Chinook as well. How does that sort of transition work?
That happened, I believe, a little bit after. So from 12 Squadron, they operated the Chinooks, and then there was a transfer into Army. I think there might have been a period of time where they decided that they'd take the Chinooks off the Orbat, and so we didn't have any for a while, and they brought some back in again. Not sure the exact history and timeline of that. There'll be some rivet counters out there, as we talked about before, that would know those specific details.
Just explain rivet counters for the Army. I know Mac used the analogy, the plane spotters with tab data when he was going through the aircraft tab data, but rivet counters, what was that in the RAAF context?
Very much the same.
Yep.
So people that will check the facts on particularly modelling or drawing and other sort of visual artist design, I guess, that if there's a rivet out of place, from that representation of that aircraft, they'll call it up.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. So please put some comments in the show notes if you have any amendments to the data. You talked before about a story where you super interested and joined the Air Force to do rotary wing maintenance, and then subsequently the maintenance, the helicopters start to slip away from the RAAF. Subsequently, if we fast forward to 99 and you go into INTERFET or into Timor, were you back with Army doing maintenance on Black Hawks, or how did that sort of work?
A really unique opportunity. There was an expression of interest that went out through the Air Force at the time in 98 for aircraft maintainers to come to Army Aviation for a 3-year posting. Jumped at it, thought it'd be great. Also, location-wise, Townsville, pretty much home. So that formed a unique opportunity there as well that the Air Force wasn't able to provide. So did that, came here into B Squadron with Black Hawks, or maintaining Black Hawks, and had a fantastic experience first posting. This is now my 3rd posting as an Air Force person in Army Aviation in Hamel Lines. Clearly, I must love it because I keep coming back.
Yeah, that's right.
and Army keep having me back as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. So I think that's the inception of the helicopter, like sort of helicopters in Army, I suppose, coming from RAAF and then subsequently being here, and a long history in sort of Hamel Lines here at 5 Avon. And then subsequently now, with the brigade headquarters is currently in location, you have Aviation Support Battalion, which we're going to talk about now, and then 5 Avon still here, 1 Avon moving, and subsequently, have you got elements of 1 Avon in location now, Shannon, like in the lines here?
Yeah, that's correct. We've got a 161 squadron headed by an OC currently in location in Hamel Lines.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're doing a lot of running around, a lot of hard work, preparing everything for the delivery of Apache in Q3 this year.
Yeah, perfect. I still remember talking to some of the 1 Avon pilots flying ARH, and they'd have to come over for certain exercise, and it's a big stint to get from Darwin all the way to Townsville. They're going to be co-located now, and that provides some opportunities to, I suppose, operate in tandem, that being attack aviation and lift with protection and stuff as well. If we go back to your sort of the value proposition for the Aviation Support Battalion now in Townsville, sort of what was the idea of the battalion being raised and providing maintenance support from a different level, and sort of what do you provide now that is different to how we did maintenance in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just an evolution of how we've previously supported the flying squadrons. I don't think it's a complete upheaval or complete change of what we have done previously. But I think it's just a modern kind of iteration that better aligns us strategically with allied partners, how they're currently operating, as well as civilian industry.
Yeah, perfect. If we start with, you said that it's just different. Can we start with how maintenance was done in the past with, integral potentially inside the regiments, and then subsequently what sort of the mix is now, and jump in both of you, but about what your sort of understanding of how it works is.
Yeah, absolutely. So you had 1 Aviation Regiment, 5 Aviation Regiment, and 6 Aviation Regiment, with either one or multiple flying squadrons flying a particular platform. Within that squadron, integral to that squadron, was a technical support troop, where you had a TSD commander in charge of carrying out all that integral maintenance for those flying operations. Those TSTs still exist. However, especially with 1 Avon and 5 Avon in location here at Hamel Lines, the TSTs are now under an OC instead of a captain troop commander, I guess providing an extra layer of oversight and depth to that integral maintenance. The flying regiments previously had integral DM support if it wasn't contracted out. And what I mean by DM is deeper maintenance. So you're more overhaul or heavier maintenance with significant kind of lead times, very logistically and maintenance man hour heavy. A lot of the regiments actually did that themselves, which can take away from your tactical flying operations depending on the operational situation. So the ASB, as I understand it, looks to provide, I guess, 3 key things: productivity, strategic relevance, and sustainability. But in essence, it's providing that depth to the flying squadrons to enable them to have the aircraft they need when they need it, with the hours clear and the aircraft being fully mission capable to achieve whatever the manoeuvre plan requires.
More capacity. I suppose if we talk about, so you talked about maintainers and maintenance. If we come back to Smarty, walking around Hamel Lines now, I see a number of different uniforms, and it's a way larger sort of operation than just maintenance and also just Army. Can you just talk through all of the Air Force and Army and civilians that work here and what they sort of do inside to support, I suppose, flying operations and provide that capacity or depth?
Yeah, absolutely. That depth is a very good word for it, because we do have a depth, very broad depth as well, of backgrounds and experiences and organisations that people work for, or they have the brand that they wear on their shirt. So we obviously have Army as a predominant organisation here, supported by Air Force. We have approximately 33 Air Force maintainers here. But the small trades, representing the trades of aircraft structural repair, they do all the repair work on their airframes. The life support fitters or technicians now, they provide helmets, aircrew gear, and a lot of other equipment needs.
Yeah, I saw it went down to the fitting room. I don't know what it's actually called, the technical term for it, but you could see that they had, obviously the pilots wear a jacket, which is fine. And then cooling, heating, they got dry suits, so if they go into the drink when they're flying and stuff, they won't freeze to death. And like cooling suits for heat.
So they maintain all those bits of kit, life support. And we also have non-destructive technicians as well. So they do like X-ray and other inspections of the aircraft as well, looking for cracks and other anomalies and that sort of stuff. And myself as an aircraft technician. Yeah. So, and then we have Boeing engineers here as well, or maintenance engineers and logistics support. We have a smattering of other companies as well with people doing like maintenance planning is one of them as well, which is a key part of what ASB provides as well. And then we have, particularly with the introduction of Apache, a whole raft of Americans in support of that, in that transition and bring that introduction into Australia of that platform.
And how's that working with, like, are they augmenting your maintenance teams, or OneAven's maintenance teams, or do they? How does that actually work, that interplay between, and what's the sort of handover period?
Yeah, so they definitely do that augmentation and provide that wealth of knowledge and experience on that aircraft platform. Field service representatives as well that go back to their company as well from a manufacturing and support perspective. The MAT team, so the augmentation team, probably predominantly ex-US Army, I would imagine, personnel. They will be here to provide that initial unloading of the aircraft into this location and then testing to the point where that aircraft is actually able to be handed to Australia in a formal context and allotted. And then once that occurs, noting that's 29 Apaches that are coming, so this is going to happen over a period of years. But once that occurs, they will supplement and augment our One Aviation Regiment maintenance teams. So that will be in itself also challenging as well. It's challenging enough to have that real depth and broad depth of people from different backgrounds and experiences wearing different uniforms in one area, Hamel Lines, with 3 different units here and a headquarters unit as well. It's quite complex, I think, to do that when historically this was 5 Aviation Regiment turf, and now it's just about everyone else is here. And then in ASB in particular, a whole bunch of different coloured uniforms.
Yeah, so your point, Smarty, about 3 units and a brigade headquarters being in the one location now, it must bring some infrastructure, amongst other things. It must bring some challenges for infrastructure. Before we go into that, though, I'll throw back to Shannon. Can you just talk about, so we've talked about how complex the maintenance organisation is that supports flying operations. More broadly, there are a number of different other trades that support flying operations at both the tactical and operational level inside your battalion and inside each of the regiments. Can you just talk about all of the other people that help, to have this aircraft in the air?
Yeah, absolutely. So the other trades include like your more classical logistic trades, such as your repair parts or equipos would be the RAAF equivalent, or your Q store and the like. We've also got your aviation ground crew operators that conduct FARP operations, so your forward aircraft refueling and arming. We have a whole aviation badge trade dedicated to those operations. And they're, as you said, part of 16 ASB. Yeah.
And I think that the rearming part, like the fuel alone is a different consideration, but the rearming thing, we've gone from, Captain Perbrick talked about, sort of miniguns on Chinooks and having, small arms to fire off that. And then subsequently we now have HE with attack aviation coming in. It's like, it's a complex sort of environment, I imagine, for them to negotiate, despite the fact that one of them will move all of its FARP down to Townsville. It'll be hard. So back to the infrastructure component, what sort of changes have happened at Hamel Lines, and subsequently, like, where are the points of friction in infrastructure to sort of have all of those units operating together?
Yeah, so I guess the changes are still being rolled out. The condensed time frame at which all of these changes are occurring has inhibited, a lot of the facility works to actually eventuate. So they're currently ongoing. The analogy that we're currently using here at work is we're building the aircraft as we fly. So there's a lot of facilities that we will and do require, especially when Apache get here, that currently don't exist. Project plans in place to build those facilities in due time. However, we've already plugged, as you said, 3 units and a brigade headquarters into the already existing facilities here. And as you could imagine, that causes, immense friction just with simple things like duty and division of responsibilities. Having multiple call signs operating in the one AA always has its frictions. And as we kind of move forward and modernise, but we've also got areas being quarantined for those future facility works, we've actually got less space than what we did have with 1 unit here, with now 3 units here operating.
Huge changes. I suppose from a nuts and bolts perspective, Smarty, like just the things that I'm, as an not understanding rotoring aviation at all, but like wash points, magazines, fuel, like what are the sort of key friction points of like introducing so much into one location?
It's massive. Little things become very big things very quickly. The lines of communication are all already quite solid with C Squadron, with the support of Chinook, and now bringing another aircraft platform in here under another regiment. Have to build those lines of communication and the prioritisation of things like wash point, of things like those small trades as a centralised function for 2 units now, 2 operating regiments with 2 different aircraft types is going to be like very challenging. And we've started off on that a little bit already. We've seen, envisage how these things are going to require a whole lot of effort. And even like our SIs, like our standing instructions, there's a whole raft of reviews going through that to unpick what has been 5 Avon here in this location to now being Hamel Lines precinct with 4 different units requiring sometimes different things, sometimes the same things, but slightly differently. And how do we
in different priority orders?
And how do we prioritise those things so everyone's happy enough? There's those small things that will seem small are actually quite complicated, especially when you're trying to get after those big things, like just flying helicopters, introducing a new helicopter in, and sustaining the operations of the existing helicopter. That little minutiae of things is gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah. Before we get to workforce, I just want to drill down on one of your points, which is introducing a new aircraft with sort of support tradespeople, a number of different support trades around it. They're bringing in sort of an Apache into service, and sort of where it was probably quite scripted in terms of how the support is provided for Chinook, because we've been operating it for so long. What sort of is there a different tack? We shifted tack with Apache, and how are we going about like designing those standing instructions and stuff for a new, does it give maintainers a fair bit more flex as to how they go about sort of constructing the way they maintain aircraft, or how does that work?
It's definitely an opportunity to review practices that we currently do. And when I say that, currently do in Hamel Lines and also currently do in one aviation regiment from a Darwin perspective. So when we're going through those instructions, orders, procedures, it is an opportunity to go or to review what we're currently doing in this location, what we're currently doing in the Darwin location at Robertson Barracks for Tiger at the moment, and trying to get the best outcome for everybody and not be too different just because we used to do it that way, so we want to keep it that way from either side. So trying to actually get that commonality so that it becomes simpler, because we have maintainers, particularly Army maintainers, probably especially, that will go in this precinct from one aircraft to another fairly frequently. And if the 2 or the 3 organisations really that provide maintenance to those platforms, if those procedures are different, that also becomes slightly challenging. It's not smooth pathway into getting the job done. So, of course, we want to remove any of those sort of frictions and any of those challenges, which, again, can seem like quite small and insignificant, but actually take time. And one of the things that we really need to, I believe, get after is increase our productivity so that we can actually generate the effect that that Army aviation needs to provide. and that really starts at that low level.
So giving like a sort of trades people more opportunity to sort of go about things in different ways to construct, to use your analogy before, Shannon, to construct the aircraft in flight, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we have a very strong regulatory set for aircraft maintenance. So we have some very tight constraints in what we can actually do, our freedom of operation, I suppose, if you like. And that's set for a very, very good reason, to make sure that the product that we provide the flyers and for the people that are sitting in the back of those helicopters, that they're as safe as possible. That can feel sometimes quite smothering because we would like to have a bit more freedom of operation sometimes, but they're there for a purpose, and they're there for a very, very good purpose. And historically, they have that reg set has changed for those reasons. We are much safer now than say way back when I joined, when the reg set was maybe a little bit looser. So, but we do, of course, within side of that, look for opportunities, and there has been like some recent changes as well to some of the ways that we can operate as well and choose how we conduct maintenance, and that's always good, but it comes with a risk as well. So we have to be very careful of how much freedom that we allow ourselves, I guess.
Just to extend on what Smarty's articulating, we've got an excellent opportunity here with raising a new unit and introducing new platforms. Excellent opportunity to cross-level our instructions and procedures to maximise our interoperability and flexibility of our, I would say, currently reduced workforce or highly skilled, highly desirable workforce, because we don't have enough of them. So we want to have that interoperability and flexibility of that workforce so that we can ebb and flow, surge where we need to, depending on the operational directions that are coming down from higher. To provide an example of kind of what we're experiencing now and where we're hoping it to lead into is looking specifically at the CH47 platform. During this period of huge modernisation going on in the Army Aviation Organisation, the demand hasn't quite decreased. Like 3 Brigade are really getting after it and want those rotary wing effects. But obviously with the withdrawal of MRH90, the reduction of AH Apaches still yet to come in, and Black Hawk are only just starting. It's in its infancy stage. Chinook has been, people are calling it the firm foot in the ground, and I absolutely believe it. Holding that operational demand, or fulfilling that operational demand. However, the platform's only got so much capacity. So it's done quite well to kind of fill the gap, even with the AW139s as an interim contracted solution. But what we're hoping with the ASB is to kind of centralise the decision-making and command decisions of using that capacity, for the example of CH47, to fulfil the demand where it's absolutely required. Because if you're operating the entire capability at 100% capacity or more, 100% of the time, your workforce burns out. The platforms, aren't going to be ready for when we actually do need them, when a no shit call out comes on. So we're trying to balance our operational requirements, our directed activities, directed readiness notices, our directed training requirements, our forecasted maintenance intervals, modification states. It is quite a complex beast. So what we're hoping that the ASB can provide, and that's the cell I'm currently heading now, is to have a centralised cell balancing all of those things and articulating that to command for decision-making and reprioritisation where required, where potentially that demand is exceeding our current capacity in this period of intense modernisation.
I suppose that's interoperability between the units and platform types. If we come back to, so that's all some of the, we've gone through sort of the workforce and what it looks like, all the people that support aviation operations and flying, subsequently maintenance and how it's sort of, you're trying to build capacity by providing that deep level maintenance and more operational level stuff to the regiments. If we and then the infrastructure as well, the challenges. If we come back to what's the end state, so currently there's a lot of money being thrown at it and there's a lot of change and there's so many trucks driving around with different stuff and it's just all changing. But like what's the end state of Townsville for aviation, Shannon?
Yeah, for sure. I guess it has been a little bit doom and gloom because Smarty and I are kind of in the thick of all of this change. It can be quite frustrating at times. But we both are quite optimistic, I would say, about the future of Army aviation and kind of where we're headed with all, as you said, the new platforms, the infrastructure, the processes and procedures and all these great opportunities that we got at the moment. So the term of, or the model, the Aviation Centre of Excellence is kind of thrown around quite a bit, or within the Army aviation organisation anyway. But essentially what I envisage the end state being is Townsville will be a hub of rotary wing aviation with 29 Apaches operating, 14 Chinooks operating, with a brigade headquarters and an ASB offering those type agnostic trades such as your aviation ground crew, your RAAF specialist technicians, and all of the logistics to support those two platforms, all operating within, one barracks environment. What that will enable is the growth and the maturing of our workforce, our subject matter experts, and ideally leverage off the total workforce system. Maybe we can seek further opportunities to employ reservists in those high-skilled professions where opportunities may have been not as abundant in the past. For example, the training liability for an aircraft technician is years. And by the time they've gone through all of their IETs, their courses, and they finally get to a unit, we go welcome, and then we put them on OJTs and, require heavy supervision to get them the experience required to then authorise them as competent to actually conduct aircraft maintenance. That's a huge training liability. Takes years and years and years. And if anyone wants to leave for whatever reason, that's a huge burden on the organisation to backfill them. Unfortunately, we are quite short in that space. So I think the end state will offer a great opportunity to hopefully hold on to those high-skilled professions and also provide them greater opportunity to bounce between multiple platforms. If someone's been in an operational unit for multiple years, potentially the ASB could be more of a respite processing where they can have more stable work or more predictable work instead of being on a readiness notice for multiple years.
Yeah, and more provide more technically. I think back to you, Smarty. I think I heard yesterday that the WOES course or the Hangar Art course is like 12 months long. So it doesn't stop at you get qualified and authorised, and then subsequently you go through these huge courses to get qualified. And it's so technical, but also incredibly challenging. You've seen a change in the workforce over the years as well. Sort of, what do you see as sort of that workforce? Some of the opportunities in the workforce that we can take hold of.
I'm pretty excited about what is the future of Hamel Lines is going to look like. With another new platform being Apache, which is an exciting platform. And that's definitely one of the reasons why I was interested in coming back here again.
For your third time as well.
For my third time. Fourth, if you include I was a defence contractor here for a fair period of time as well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I was very interested in coming back and being part of, but also seeing what it goes into. So yeah, it is a grind at the moment, but the future is really exciting, I think, in Army aviation and particularly here in this location, Hamel Lines. So I would encourage anyone to get after that. So yeah, if I go back into when I served in B Squadron back in the late 90s and early 2000s, there was a whole raft of retreads, as the name was. I'm not sure if that name still exists, but soldiers that came from the other side of Townsville, basically from 3 Brigade, that probably needed that bit of a respite, mainly on their bodies. I can only imagine being an infantryman, how tough that would be. It's definitely not me. But Army Aviation provided, and still does provide, a very good opportunity to stay in the capabilities, to stay in the uniform and still provide back to the effect and provide back to the soldiers on the ground, which is what we do for Army Aviation. So I think that's, me personally, I would encourage any soldier that is looking around at what they might do next to have a look over at Army Aviation and think about the training that the organisation will put you through and the skills that you'll learn and the ability to be able to still provide a service back to Australia.
That's awesome. Good, excellent recruiting pitch as well. So yeah, I think that it's more technically challenging. I suppose it provides that next level of technical challenge. Can you? Oh, so I'm going to go down another tangent here, but obviously you've seen the introduction of. Obviously you went through changing rotary wing from RAAF to Army, but also subsequently you've seen the introduction of aircraft types in the past. How exciting is it to get? I don't know, but I imagine they throw the keys to you. Like you talked about the Americans coming over, the augmented maintenance team or maintenance augmentation team, and providing a service and checking the aircraft over. And then do they throw the keys to the Apache to the new crew? And then how daunting is it being the first person to spin spanners on the first aircraft? Big pressure, I imagine.
Yeah, it is. Again, we got our reg set that. It's very prescriptive in how we do things, but to actually start to build, your understanding of that aircraft type. We have aircraft type courses, and we've had and still actually have a bunch of Army technicians overseas, like over in the States, to get that experience. So when they come back, it's not just like that. Here's the keys. It's all yours now, and without any understanding of what to do. It will be clunky though, absolutely. And that's as we go through crawl, walk, run, basically. But to be at the start of that is actually quite exciting because you see the growth. It's like having a kid, like you see the growth right from birth. And you can really lay down the foundations for success in the future. It definitely can be challenging, grinding, frustrating, all those things. Along with all the other changes that are happening in Hamel Lines at the moment as well. Like I don't think you could make it any more complex, than it has been right now. But certainly, if you look at that into the future, you're part of the building phase. You're there laying the foundations, doing some of that work that you're planting the tree that you may not sit in the shade for. I hope that I remain here long enough to be able to actually see some of those.
There's always a fifth posting. Always a fifth
posting, yeah. Or as we were talking about before, viable opportunities for reserve work.
And staying in.
Which for me personally, that's definitely an opportunity that anyone should probably look at. So as aircraft maintainers, fundamentally our job is to fix things, which is solving problems. And so there's a whole lot of problems that need to be solved here in Hamel Lines at the moment, which absolutely can bog you down and get frustrating. But as that mindset of we can actually solve these problems incrementally, it's the mountain or it's the elephant, and how do you actually get after it? It's like bit by bit. And you look back at the end of your posting and go, wow, we actually achieved a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it fun, I suppose.
And technically challenging because it's like we solved a lot of problems over the posting. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of them are only small things, there's a couple of things that we talked about already, unexciting things sometimes. But certainly for the actual maintainers on the floor on the aircraft, that is super exciting, I think, because they will, through their promotion cycle, they will be the next generation of maintenance leaders. And, their troops down the track will be listening to their stories about when they were here, when the keys got, thrown over, and how things have changed so much since then through that timeline. And we talked about history, from Air Force into Army Aviation. There's rich history there if you, dig it out.
Yeah.
And so everyone here can be part of that history of Hamel Lines and Apache coming in, flying with Chinooks as well. That's pretty exciting, I reckon.
Yeah, that interoperability piece is awesome. Like I could only imagine being an infantry platoon commander on, having your platoon mounted in a CH47, looking out the window as you're about to move from your battle position into a subsequent landing zone for a AMO or air mobile insertion, and you see Apaches hovering to provide. I imagine there's a fair bit of standoff. I'm romanticising this a little bit, but Apaches providing security and support for your AMO, and then being able to, for 3 Brigade, like to use your analogy before, being able to genuinely operate with attack aviation, and like how long can you spend, what's the endurance of the aircraft in the air, and what can I expect from you, and working from like a combat team commander's perspective, if you've got ARH attached, being like, what can you provide me and what do we need to do for you type thing in terms of security. That's exciting, right? 2 different aircraft flying in support of your operations in 3 Brigade. That's exceptional.
100%. And as a maintainer on the ground, watching those aircraft take off and go do their business and knowing that you are part of that success, part of that story, there's not many better feelings about that. That's what you'd love to see.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. All right, gents, thank you so much for your time. I suppose that's the maintenance of rotoring platforms or aviation helicopters. We talked about the history and then subsequently all of the changes and the friction that's been introduced up in Townsville. But like the end state, I suppose, and that Aviation Centre of Excellence up in Townsville, some amazing opportunities to get hands-on with kit that you would never have touched before, and some awesome opportunities to sort of conduct some interoperability. Thank you so much for your time, gents.
No, thanks for having us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Cove Podcast. Explore our channel for more great audio PME content. Also, visit us at cove.army.gov.au for hundreds of additional resources. The Cove, the learning home of the Australian profession of arms.